Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's long-awaited podcast.
Yeah.
Been a while.
Ooh, finally got my voice back. I was kind of sick for a while there, too.
Yeah, and that doesn't do well for a
Talking.
completely audio show, so...
Talking for like an hour straight.
Yeah. I guess we can just kind of...
Dive into things,
Yeah, talk about what we've been up to and... anything cool in the news.
Yeah, so...
nerd news.
Yeah, movie-wise, we had both Deadpool 2 and Infinity War, respectively, on the Marvel end. Still waiting for Aquaman, I believe is that this year?
Yeah, and soonish.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd that we haven't gotten a trailer or anything like that.
Yeah. And then Solo's right around the corner.
Yeah, Solo's next week. Next Friday.
Holy, I didn't realize.
Or when this podcast goes out. The Friday of that week, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And that's been getting some good early reviews, which kind of makes me nervous.
Yeah, I don't know if it can live up to my very first introduction to the movie, which was just watching the trailer, but with the Star Wars Connect Han Solo song.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked at length on this podcast about Solo and our nervousness for it. The only reason it makes me nervous is it's like, oh no, I was expecting to ignore it, and now it's.
Now I have to get invested. Yeah, and whether or not it's good.
Yeah, and it's kind of fluctuating between 70 and 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is actually pretty solid.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because now it's because if it's just gonna be bad, and I was just going in expecting a bad movie, there's no way to be disappointed. Yeah, it's like at my old job. I worked up in Arlington near the ballpark, and I had a buddy who always liked to just go to the game, and just have a few beers, and do fine, and because he knew they were gonna lose, but it was around the time they picked up Yu Darvish on the team.
Oh yeah,
and they started winning sometimes. He's like, it's BS. Now I'm invested. I can't just have a few beers and then leave in the last little stretch. I'm there the whole time paying attention, and that's kind of how I feel right now.
Yeah. So we'll see. I have yet to see Infinity War. Yeah. But then again, I had not seen any of the Phase 3 movies.
Yeah.
So last week, while you were recovering and I was running a bunch of overtime, I just would come home and watch one of the Phase 3 movies.
Yeah.
So I'm caught up, and I might go see... Well, we're recording this on a Saturday, so I might go see Infinity War this afternoon.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But I did see Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
So I guess we can give each other a spoiler-free review.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah. On those, but I'm trying to think of anything else. Anything
newsworthy on the game front. We're right around the corner from E3.
That's true.
So there's not a lot coming out right now. But there will be some coming out soon, and
I saw a leaked list of a schedule.
Yeah.
And I don't know how true that is, but Morrowind HD was on that, and I was thinking, that's something that I didn't think I would ever want, or I never really thought about.
Yeah.
An HD Morrowind, but seeing that, if that's true.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm prepared for. I don't know. Maybe I will need a palate cleanse or whatever. But I'm in full JRPG mode right now.
Oh yeah.
And it's maybe I do need a no story hack and slash RPG, because by the time I'm done, we can talk more on that later. But yeah, there's also on that list. I saw. This is the forever rumored. It was going to be Final Fantasy remake or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then of course they're going to reveal more on Kingdom Hearts 3, which I saw they released more gameplay, but I'm not watching anything on Persona 3 or spoilers. Kingdom Hearts 3 because I'm abstaining from even hearing the theme song until I boot it up.
Yeah. I've had a lot of friends say that the theme sounds really cool, and they're all super excited about how all the characters look, and I'm like genuinely staying away.
Yeah, I don't want to see any more than I've seen. I saw a picture of Sora on Wreck-It Ralph's shoulders, and I was like, I don't need to see any more than that. Like, I've already given you my money.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, just stop.
Yeah. We've been waiting for 20 years, so.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, he was basically when Kingdom Hearts 3 started development, he was in the office working on Kingdom Hearts, as he has been since the first Kingdom Hearts. And, like, somebody walked in, and they're like, it's been 10 years since Kingdom Hearts 3, or Kingdom Hearts 2, and he's like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, to be fair to me, I have not stopped working on Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
So I had not realized how long it had been since Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've also talked at length about Kingdom Hearts 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be that's going to be a...
Oh, believe me. That'll
be some hours sunk into a video game. Funny enough, the game's been out for like 3 years now, but like I'm finally making my way through Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And loving every minute of it. Story, is kind of lacking, but like in terms of gameplay, it's probably one of the most fun games I've ever played.
Yeah.
It gets a little repetitive, but like right when it's starting to get repetitive, something comes up and you go, oh no. It's like the last mission I was on spawned a... It was like 2 or 3 it's during the mission, you like, if you capture a guy, he like sparks 2 more side quests where you have to go get these legendary gunsmiths.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then when you beat that little like side op, it's like 2 or 3 side ops.
Yeah.
Then you get a notification that there's gun customization. And it is probably one of like the deepest gun customizations like in a video game.
Yeah.
And I just sat there thinking, what have you done, Metal Gear?
Yeah.
Like I've already sunk 30 hours into you. Like why would you do this to me? Like why would you do this to me when I'm like a third of the way through the game?
Yeah.
I was like, because now I want to spend another 20 hours just customizing guns. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Though I do feel like it's unfair because I've now been able to put a suppressor on a trank gun.
So cheat codes.
Yeah, but hey.
It happens. Man, I picked up a couple weeks ago Persona 5. And I was not prepared for that game.
I don't think anyone's ever prepared.
Yeah, nobody's prepared for their first Persona.
No.
I had a friend trying to pitch the game to me and another mutual friend of ours for a while, and just was not doing a good job of really like describing it in a way that sounded fun, But then I heard from a couple other people, including you, that you enjoyed Persona, and it went on sale, so we both picked it up. I did not ask for any feels from video games, and I didn't expect it. It's like I went in there looking for a dungeon crawl, and I got in there, and it'd be like, you get the text message or whatever. It's like, hey, like the deadline's coming up. We need to go clear that dungeon, and it's like, but I want to go hang out with my friends, and I got to study for exams, and it's, my God, what's happening? I thought,
right.
It's the characters in Persona. Like I didn't realize, like they do such a good job of writing characters.
They really do, like throughout the whole series too.
Yeah, and I think in this one especially, at least on the North American release, from what I understand, the localization and like voice acting is even more top notch because it actually, they spent an additional like 7-8 months or something doing that basically.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so the voice acting really is what carries it so well because it's like all the characters feel really fleshed out. Like
nice.
Everybody talks like an actual person. And
okay.
Like, you take that for granted in games,
Yeah, you do.
And I'm nearing the end, I think, I thought I was nearing the end 3 times, and then it was like, nope, there's more. And I've not complained, because every time I'm like, man, I don't want, like, because I'm going to beat this game, and, like, my friends are going to go away now. Like, these digital friends that I didn't know that I wanted. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I find out there's more, and I'm like, oh, that's good. But is this the last one?
Yeah, so, okay, well, I haven't played 5. My first introduction was 4, and I've talked at length about 4 and 3.
Yeah.
But 4 is really, really bad because it ends. Yeah. And when it ended, I sat there and was like devastated that my fake friends that don't actually exist in real life and are just code and some voice actors. Yeah. I had to leave them. Yeah. And I got really upset. And then, to realize that there are 2 fighting games and a rhythm dance game that take place in the story that are actual canon follow-ups, made me happy. So
that's actually cool.
Yeah,
there's hope that I'll see my fake friends again too.
Maybe, but the Dragon Ball Fighters, that company, is the one that made the 2 fighting games. So the Persona 4 arena games, and then there's Persona Dancing All Night, which is literally a dance rhythm game, but it continues the story, and it was like, I'm terrible at fighting games, but I'm gonna play these because I need more time with my fake friends.
And this is another weird thing, is I'm sitting here thinking about this, and like you said that, and like I haven't beat this game yet, obviously, and all I'm thinking is, man, I like fighting games way more than rhythm dance games, and at the same time, sitting here and being honest with myself as to which one I want more as a follow-up to this game, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like...
And I think I want to say that there's another, it's called Persona Q on the 3DS or the DS. Yeah. And that's a crossover between 4 and 3. Because they do take place, like, in the same... I don't know if all the games take place in the same universe, but, like... In 4, you go to the high school from 3.
Gotcha.
And I think in 3 you may... I don't know.
I'm not sure if... So, alright. I guess, because this isn't really spoilers, in the previous games, how public were the things going on?
I can't speak too much.
Right.
3 was pretty world-ending.
Gotcha.
4 was a very, like, isolated small-town incident. Gotcha. And it was on the news, but it was...
See, because, like, alright.
Like, but people weren't like, kids are jumping in the TVs and fighting demons. Yeah. They're like, there's murders happening.
Okay, so
and the murderer got caught. That type, yeah.
Because then, like, because 5, it's pretty... You're in the public eye, more or less.
Okay.
But nobody knows your names or anything.
Okay.
Because of the nature of, and I touched on this a little bit when I talked to you about it before we started doing this the podcast. But like, you have to send a calling card to the boss basically in the real world, and that ends up making people aware of you because it's pretty public. Because like you can't just hand the person the thing, Yeah. And so, like, the first one, it's in the school, and you post it up on the school bulletin board all over the place.
Okay.
And so then it's like people are talking about that because, you use a fake made-up name, the Phantom Thieves of Hearts or whatever. So people start talking about that. And then then it's very much in the public eye, all of these things that are happening, even though people aren't aware how it's happening. But I guess... At the same time, it could still, like, 5 years down the line, people aren't going to be talking about the Phantom Thieves of Heart, just like any other previous game, I guess. So they could be in the same world pretty easily, I guess.
But it's surprising, and even if you're not, like, a big JRPG fan, I feel like the Persona games are accessible, and, like... I want to say that they were no harder than playing like a Pokemon game because the fight mechanics are very rock paper scissory.
It's more strategy RPG.
Yeah, and but it's very like it doesn't hold your hand, and you can definitely get like a party wipe early on or even later on in the game. but it's kind of like an enjoyable, relaxed. Like you're relaxed when you play any of the Shin Megami games. You're just getting destroyed, and it's basically like, how much do you hate yourself?
Yeah.
Because if you loathe yourself to no end, you'll beat this game. But if you actually enjoy your life, you probably won't finish this game. Like, that's how the Shin Megami games are. Where Persona is kind of like the whole experience. There's challenges, but it's just a very fun, relaxing, enjoyable experience the whole way through. And there's not a lot of RPGs or JRPGs that don't just brutalize you halfway through.
Yeah, I think the best way to describe it is you are playing an anime, but the whole anime, not just the action sequences.
Yeah.
Like, you are playing from start to finish a high school, like, supernatural thriller type anime from start to finish. Yeah. So, like, you go to class, you hang out with your friends, you fight demons, you overthrow, like, corrupt people.
Yeah.
You take your exams on Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, and it is kind of funny because we talked about it, but like it's definitely one of those like, I've only got 5 days to solve this murder before someone dies. But Rise is having an existential crisis where she doesn't want to be a pop idol anymore, and I have to help her at her mochi shop. And you're like, I think the mochi shop existential crisis is a little bit more important than saving this person's life.
Yeah. Yeah, or
you're like I want to go to the movies. I want to go to the movies with my waifu character. Like, I'm sorry that we've only got 4 more days to solve this murder case. I'll solve it on the last day.
That literally happened because it's like, there was like 5 days, or like 3 days, and you have to do it a day early so that you can send the calling card. So that on the last day you can actually get in there. So it's like I had 3 days. And I had barely done anything in the dungeon. And then, like, I get the text, and she's like, hey, I was thinking of coming over tomorrow and playing video games all day. Is that cool? And it's like, we got to go into the dungeon, but on the other hand,
I can build my social link.
Yeah, all right, let's play video games. And then it's like everybody else is texting like, when are we going into the dungeon? Yeah. It's like, listen, shut up. We got 2 days before, somebody dies. It's fine.
Yeah. And I guess like a closing statement on this one so we can kind of move forward is Persona is definitely a game that like teleports you. Like it's like you start playing it and then you turn it off and you're like, man, it was nice. Like I'm glad I got to play an hour of that. And you look at the clock and it's like 8 hours past, and you go, "Oh no!
Yeah,
like, what have I done?" Persona is a time machine of a video game.
Oh, believe me, yeah. That is. I refuse to tell anybody how many hours I've clocked on that because a friend of mine asked me that because he's like, "Where are you at?" And I was like, "I think I'm on the last dungeon." Which one? And I told him, I was like, he's like, "Okay, how many hours have you clocked?" And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I don't know. I think it was." That many? Yeah.
It's not that bad. It's only like 97. Oh, wait.
That's almost exactly the number.
Yeah. Like, it's insane.
I think it was 90. I think it might have been 98. And it's like, where? In 2 weeks. Where did I... When?
Yeah. Like, when did I work 2 shifts with overtime?
Yeah.
On this game. And Metal Gear 5 is a lot like that, too. Where it's just like you kind of get lost in playing, and as much hate as that game's gotten, and I'm like a massive Metal Gear fan. I even played like the Metal Gear Acid games. Like I have Ghost Babylon Game Boy Color. I have played every single thing that has the title Metal Gear. I've played Snake's Revenge, and I thoroughly love 5 right now.
Yeah.
The story is not the focus, and I guess that is something, and I've heard that it does go unfinished.
Yeah.
But in terms of like sitting down and playing a video game and enjoying my experience with the game, it's a 10 out of 10. Like I absolutely love it. I think it's probably the most fun to play. However, if you want to talk about like best game in the series, it's definitely not. But
That's an interesting, I guess, like, opposites is that, like, you've been diving into this, like, huge immersive gameplay-wise game where the story is lacking, and I'm playing this game where it's, like, it's fun.
Yeah,
but it's not, like, this mechanically, like, engaging game that is all story.
Like I said, it's almost weird how simple the game is.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Like, because JRPGs now are just so utterly confusing, and this game is so straightforward.
Yeah, it really is. It's just a curve learning how the game works, so that you can manage your time properly.
Yeah, I mean,
but then it'll by the time you get through like the first palace and partway into the second one, like once you have the full agency to do whatever you want, most of the time,
but it does have depth. Yeah. Like, it has, like, the crazy depth, like, when you're fusing personas.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've seen people with, like, I know friends that have mathematical equations on, like, what day and what time do you fuse what persona, and what persona do you take into what dungeon to do this so that you can finally get the end-all, be-all, crazy, powerful persona. But I played through the game, I had, like, one spot where I lost, and I had to play a boss twice in Persona 4. And I would literally fuse them and just go, make it stronger.
Yeah,
like, I did not go in depth at all with that.
Oh, yeah, I've spent as little time in the Velvet Room as I had to.
Yeah.
When I did go in there, admittedly, I'd usually spend a decent amount of time.
Oh, yeah, like...
But it just wasn't very often. And like... But, it's got as much depth as you want. Mm-hmm. Yeah, every now and then a boss would smack me around, I'll admit. But then, like, I would come back and be like, nope.
Yeah.
But that's usually because it's... And I don't know how it is in other ones, but sometimes, like, the boss will have, like, an interesting or unique mechanic to them.
Yeah.
And so it'll be like, oh, okay, I messed up on that, or whatever.
Yeah, the 1 and 4 that, like, really, really got me was there's a pretty difficult fight, not, maybe, like, halfway through the game. And it's not that bad of a fight, but by the end of it, you're kind of, like, worn out and your character's, MP's down and the health is down, and you go, well, man, that was a pretty solid boss fight. And then it puts you into a second boss fight that's twice as hard. And if you didn't know that second boss fight was coming, maybe you didn't grind as much as, like, a JRPG expects you to grind.
Right.
And so it just slaps you across the face because you're not expecting... oh, this tough boss fight is actually just the intro to an even more difficult boss fight.
Yeah.
But then, like, once you know, like, I just went and grinded for, like, an hour or two.
Yeah.
In the dungeon and kind of got my level up, 5, 6 levels, and then went back and then was able to manage it.
Oh, yeah.
But it was definitely a rude awakening when you're like, oh, man, I almost lost that fight. That was pretty tough. And it goes, no.
Listen.
Like, here's the actual boss fight. That's always a scary thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Like, if you get... It's one of those games where it's like... It's really easy until you get complacent, and then you'll die in a second.
Yeah.
Like, because I'll go through a dungeon, and I'll just be taking out everybody. And I don't know how it is in the other ones. This one has, like, almost mild stealth mechanics to it. Because the enemies are on the overworld, and you can ambush them. But if they see you, then it, like, raises the alert in the palace.
Uh-huh.
But if you get the drop on them and you're using weaknesses, you can just take everybody out before they even get an attack off. Until you get complacent and you just decide to run through a room and you don't notice there's an enemy, and then he gets the drop on you, and it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it is funny, like, I did say that we'd move on. But,
yeah.
That so Persona definitely is a JRPG, because we're talking about boss fights, we're talking about, like, difficulty. When it always reminds you, you're like, you know what, this isn't that bad. Like, this is kind of like a Dragon Quest. It's kind of simpler, it's fun, I'm enjoying it. And then you, like, get into a random encounter with death, and you go, oh, wait, oops. And it just wipes you in one move, and you go, what was that? And you go to look it up, and it goes, oh, well, this boss has, like, a 1 in 99 chance of spawning, and it's 10 times more powerful than the final boss. Welcome to JRPGs.
Yeah. Yeah, they mentioned the Reaper that...
Yeah, and he's in every game.
There's the individual palaces.
Yeah.
Which once you complete them, they're done. And then there's the mementos, which is like a dungeon that expands the further you get into the game, and like the layout is different every time you go in there, and like you're just told it's like, hey, by the way, don't linger on one floor too long.
Yeah.
If you hear chains rattling, leave.
Yeah, because he'll come.
Because you can't beat him.
Mm-mm.
And it's like, oh.
I mean, eventually you can.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to grind.
Right, exactly. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's a hard game to recommend because people, myself included, who I didn't think would like the game are now love it, you know, and are really into it. But then it's like at the same time, I can't like honestly say it's like, oh yeah, you definitely like that game because I don't know. I don't even know what I liked about it, you know?
Oh yeah,
I just don't want it to end.
I think it's a series that I think everyone should. If you're a big video game nut, like and you love video games, I think it's a very. It's kind of like an important game.
Yeah.
Because like if you're just used to American style RPGs or shooters, but you really do kind of want to like get a feel for what Japanese players are like.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect blend because it's part visual novel, it's part JRPG.
That is like the weirdest thing.
Yeah, and it's distinctly a Japanese game.
Yeah.
Like there's absolutely nothing about that game that could be construed as like a different like a UK developer or
yeah.
You know, so it is the definitive Japanese video game, and I think that it's everyone who's a video gamer should try it.
Yeah,
and they're not that expensive.
I mean, this one hasn't dropped in price yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I just happened to get it on sale, and it's like I've enjoyed it so much that I almost feel like I committed a crime by only paying $20 for it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting you say that because it is such a Japanese game.
Yeah.
But they do. It's insane how well it's localized.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know how they did it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well,
but
you're going to like when you go to like a Japanese school in the game.
Yeah.
Or you're doing a very distinctly Japanese thing. Like your brain doesn't go, well, that's not what I would do. You're like, oh yeah, like let's go.
They do a good job framing it.
Yeah. So you feel like you're a student, and it doesn't feel out of place. Except if you were a student, an American student, you went over to Japan, you would be very out of place.
Yeah. Though I will say, like a lot of the joy that I had from it, is something that like wouldn't be as enjoyable for like necessarily everybody, but like, you know, when I went to visit you in Japan, it's like we were staying in Ogikubo, and we'd always go to that ramen shop near the station.
Yeah,
and that was like my favorite place to eat.
It's probably like one of the best places I ate in Japan.
Yeah, and then like Ryuji's like, hey man, after school, you want to hang out? There's this awesome ramen shop in Ogikubo right by the station. And I'm like, yeah, I absolutely 100% want to do that.
Yeah.
Or like going and taking, you know, a girl on a date to Odaiba. And it's like, oh, that's cool. Like over by the boardwalk there. Or
I really want to play Persona because it seems like, because it is. Like the setting is where I lived in Japan. And so I think like it would be very nostalgic to like see a video game representation of some of the favorite places that I went to.
Yeah.
Whereas when I played Persona 4, you're out in the countryside, and
it's more of like a Shenmue middle of nowhere kind of thing, like small town.
Yeah, like there's like 4 or 5 areas, and they're all within walking distance, and it's very quaint.
Yeah.
And so you're not like running through Shibuya and Shinjuku and Odaiba, and you're not hopping on any trains. Well, there's one train.
Yeah.
There's one train that gets you to the closest city that has like a cafe.
Yeah, so like that was the thing. The first day, it's like, all right, you got to go to school, and I was like, all right, cool. And you go to the station, and it's like, all right, I got to go on the Ginza line, and I'm like, all right, Cameron, it's been like 3 years, you can still do this.
Yeah.
Like. Oh God.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's a few places that you can explore. There's like 3 or 4, I think, like areas that you can actually explore.
Like
then
a hub world.
Yeah. Then most of the areas are just like you just go to a specific place, But like there is a small strip, like one little street in Akihabara you can go to.
Nice.
And there is actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I hadn't been, but there is a maid cafe there that you can go to, and there is a retro game store.
Very cool.
That has a mascot that looks mysteriously like a potato.
Very cool.
So it's like a nice super potato reference. Very there. Cool.
Well, I was like moving.
Yeah, now we do it. We probably definitely need to move on.
I'm guessing. Welcome to the Persona 5 review.
Yeah.
Episode, but
yeah.
So I guess we can move into some of our movie reviews.
Right on. I guess
I said Avengers War. Infinity War came out first, so maybe just give your thoughts on that. We'll keep it spoiler free, and then I'll turn around and give my thoughts on Deadpool 2.
Yeah. Taken as its own, and I say taken as its own as in not counting, because it's essentially a two-parter. Not taken as its own in terms of like an isolated movie, because obviously it's not. It's like watching Avengers, where it's. I think
when I heard that, I was a little miffed, because I'm like, wait, I thought they said that its story was going to be conclusive, and it wasn't a part 1, part 2.
It is and it isn't. So like the story is concluded. Like the Infinity War story. There is very clearly like there's a reason the next 2 movies take place before Infinity War. Because like Ant-Man takes place immediately after Civil War, I think, and then Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s.
Okay.
Because there's immediate there is an immediate sequel to this movie essentially. And taken as a movie on its own, it is really good. How good it is can be enhanced or decreased by the sequel.
Okay.
That's just the nature of things, just the nature of certain aspects of it.
It's very odd going into like something like this where it's now a 10-year franchise where everything's connected, because you kind of have to go, well, and this is my opinion, where I'm like, the individual movies aren't that great and they're very formulaic, but like the experience is almost more fun.
That's definitely, yeah.
And I can see where it's really cool, especially because I just recently, like I said, watched Phase 3. And I felt like Phase 3 was the first time where everything felt connected. Like, where characters were bouncing in and out and referencing each other, and it was very cohesive, whereas I felt like Phase 2 kind of fell flat for me, because you had all these guys team up, and then they like broke apart and didn't really talk about anything, and they did their own adventures. It was very disjointed, and I'm like, okay, well, if in Iron Man 3 the president got kidnapped, why isn't Captain America there? Or
and a throwaway line could fix that. Yeah,
or like Thor, all of the UK is getting like warped and teleported and destroyed, and it's like Iron Man wouldn't, like, why isn't anyone helping him? But then in Phase 3, all the characters interacted, and like it was not uncommon for someone to just pop up in a movie and go, hey, just checking up on you. And I thought that's a really cool thing, but at the same time I'm like, I don't know, like because I'm not saying that they're bad movies. I'm just saying that they have to follow a strict formula in order to
for them to actually mesh.
Yeah, for them to mesh, they can't be too risky, and they can't do too many things, because like eventually they all have to kind of
because any risk that you take in one movie affects all the others.
And so maybe I think some people take it that I hate Marvel movies because like I don't go see them in theaters. I don't hate them. It's just those aren't characters I grew up with. And if I don't catch one, or if I'm behind, it's kind of like, oh well, I do want to watch them, and I've enjoyed. There've been a few flops where I just did not like the movies, but and for the most part, they're really fun. I really like them. My unfortunate thing is that the characters that I did grow up with are in a studio mess with DC. I feel like they've nailed the characters except for Flash.
I think Flash shouldn't have been quite as young, I think, and quite as awkward, I guess. His age wasn't a factor to me. It was that they made him be the funny guy, and Flash is the funny guy. But
he's the funny guy without having forced to be said funny guy.
He doesn't. Yeah, I guess that's the best way of putting it.
And I felt like Joss Whedon was probably the worst thing to happen to Justice League, because his vision and Snyder's vision don't mesh. The reshoots were almost like, even people who don't know how movies are edited knew something was wrong with the tone. Where like they're like, it doesn't seem like those were filmed on the same days, or like it just feels disjointed. But that's the studio. Part of me kind of wishes that there was a world where we could have seen where Snyder got to do what he wanted to do, and we could see all the cuts. They might not have necessarily been like the best, but it would have been more cohesive, and it would have been like, okay, well, I don't like his vision, or, I love his vision, but that's what we got. I just felt like things got hampered so much that we didn't get any vision because the studios kept interfering.
Yeah, the few things that... Like, I felt like that for a little bit, but, like, the few things that I've heard from both him and other people that were changed or that he wanted to do, I'm like, I really actually don't know if I would want that. Because like, I think he has hinted that he wanted to kill off more of the Justice League. And it's like, okay, listen... Superman's already dead. Yeah. And you want to take out more? It's like, maybe chill. Like, this one was disjointed, but I think it was like a sacrificial lamb. Like, it is more disjointed, the Justice League, that is, because it will allow for other movies to be a little more coherent going forward. But yeah.
I will say, though, movie like... If I do go see Infinity War, the one thing I am excited about, and I don't know, like maybe you can elaborate on this. But I feel like Infinity War, every character that you've seen on screen, even if they're not used a whole lot, I feel like everyone's going to have a super awesome, really, really cool moment. And it would be a failure on the studio if they didn't. Because this is like the movie where it's like everyone needs to have a cool moment. Like,
yeah, everybody that's in the movie pretty much has a cool moment for the most part. Ant-Man and Hawkeye aren't in it.
Well, that's upsetting.
Yeah, it's a little upsetting, but I also kind of know why. Not like 100%. Like, not like, oh, like but like I kind of get it. I wanted them both to be in it, but I also get, like, how many people are in it, and they're probably saving them for larger roles in the next one. Okay. If I had to guess. But yeah, most everybody gets their moment. Some characters more than others. But yeah, like, everybody, there's at least that moment where you're just like, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, all right. And then there's team-ups that you're like, you didn't see coming. Because it's not everybody in one spot. There's, like, essentially 3 parties, more or less. Okay. And there's ones where you just didn't know you wanted it going in. But then it's like, I'm sorry, but where are Rocket and Thor flying off to do what? Nice. Okay. Very cool. Sign me up. But yeah, it was really fun. And I think what you said back when we saw the first Avengers movie, not the first Avenger. That's Captain America. But the first Avengers movie is like, you described it as being like an experience, or an event. I think might have been the word you used. And I think that's a good way to describe Infinity War. Is like, if you've seen everything coming up to it, there's a payout. There's like a payoff for everything, Yeah. And I think that's a big part of the appeal.
Yeah, like I felt like the first Avengers was like, if I was to sit there and watch it, it's probably not. It's not really a great movie, but it's a great event. Yeah,
it's a good movie, but it's not like...
Well, it can't stand on its own. Yeah, because it needs to have other movies to flesh it out. So like, I feel like Infinity War, if you were to go in to see it, and that's the first Marvel movie you've ever seen, it'd probably fall flat on you, and there'd be cool moments, but it just wouldn't. Oh yeah, it's not. It is not a traditional movie, and it wouldn't be a good traditional movie.
It's like tuning in for the series finale of a TV show.
Yeah, it's very serialized, so I feel like the Avengers movies are events, and they should be events, and they should be like these big crazy things, but to me it's kind of like, they're not going to be they're not going to be like these great movies.
Yeah.
And when I've even heard people be like, well, why can't superhero movies win Academy Awards? It's like, well, because they're not really movies. They're like these like big entertainment pieces.
Yeah, that's.
And I'm not saying that in a negative way. Like,
no, I get it.
Like I'm saying it in an endearing way. Like it's something that we've never experienced before.
Yeah.
And so you can't traditionally look at it as like a movie with a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, it's really almost its own type of media in a way.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, is it needs to be a big event, and I think that's why, because I remember watching Age of Ultron and enjoying it, and then not really getting why everybody else was so unhappy with it until I saw Infinity War, because I watched it and I was like, yeah, Age of Ultron was a fun movie, but it wasn't an event.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, yeah, all the guys are getting together to do another thing. It didn't feel like a significant event. It didn't feel like this big deal, like things coming together.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like Avengers, the first Avengers is like, whoa!
Yeah,
and then, like,
it blows your mind.
I honestly couldn't tell you the difference between Age of Ultron and Civil War. And, like, I was watching Black Panther, and, my fiance, she was sitting there going, hey, like, I really like this Claw guy, but, like, and I can only assume that he was in another movie. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's in Civil War. I think Captain America cut his arm off with his shield. And then I sat there and I went, wait, no, that's wrong. I was like, he wasn't. He wasn't in Civil War. But what movie was he in? I was like, he was in a movie where all of the people were teamed up and they were fighting. And I was like, was it Ultron? I was like, did Ultron cut his arm off? I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense because he's a Black Panther character, and Black Panther was in Civil War, and I was like, wait, was Panther? It's like
because Civil War was a better Avengers movie.
It was
than Age of Ultron.
Yeah, it was very confusing. Like I had to sit there and like pull up 8 Wikipedia articles and go, oh my gosh, like I had forgotten that because Avengers felt boom like Avengers, and then it felt like all the characters have meshed and done their thing. And then Infinity War, and then you kind of forget that there was an Avengers film.
Yeah, it almost feels like Avengers 2 was actually Civil War and not Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
You know? Because Age of Ultron just was like, all right, it's like another movie where they're all hanging out and doing stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But like this is the first one that's felt like a big deal like that. Civil War was close because it was still bringing in a lot of characters in ways, and new characters, and they're interacting in ways they hadn't, and it was a big and interesting thing. But Infinity War is like the first one that was like that first Avengers movie where it's like, these are worlds that had never met.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool. It's insane.
Maybe that's it. Is like, Age of Ultron just felt like another day at the office. Because like, they weren't really dealing with anything new.
Yeah.
They were just dealing with an army of robots, and they've already fought an army of other CGI creatures. So like,
yeah, and it's like that's exactly it. In which it's actually funny that you say another day at work, because that is because like you, I have kind of mixed feelings about Ragnarok, but that is one of my favorite things when he's like, he's a friend from work, because it makes me think that Thor literally thinks of the Avengers as like a day job, and that's what he just thinks that work is like.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, oh yeah, it's fun. You go to work and you go fight robots and stuff.
Yeah. You fight a bunch of the same creature.
Because that's so mundane to him.
Yeah.
Because he's this like 1,500-year-old.
Well, and that was another thing. Like, one thing I am kind of excited about Infinity War is like, Thanos has villains, like underlings, and they're distinct, and they all look like they probably have a personality, and it's like, oh, that's refreshing, because like I watched Ragnarok and I liked Ragnarok. I love that movie as much as I hated that movie, and I cannot tell you why.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you because it's 2 movies.
Like, I could sit there and go, I loved Ragnarok. I can also sit there and go, I hated Ragnarok, and like, the purest of emotions on both ends are true. Yeah. It's very weird. But there was one thing at the end, is when Hela has her army. And I had to kind of sit back and go, well, dang, it's a bunch of CGI. It's one CGI monster multiplied by like 200.
Yeah.
And then I went, that's why I didn't like Ultron, because it was one creature multiplied 1,000 times. And then I'm like, and the reason I didn't like that was because we had seen it in Avengers, but in Avengers, you weren't thinking, here we go again.
Well, not only that, but there was actually more variety in Avengers because they had the ships and skiffs and other things.
Yeah, you know, and so like you're not thinking about it until right around Age of Ultron and some of the other movies that followed where you went, man, they do punch a lot of like really breakable CGI creatures. Like,
yeah.
So I'm sure that there's going to be other like CGI creatures in Infinity War,
yeah.
But like the fact that there are generals, that they're like there's more depth to the villains.
There's very clearly one that's more fleshed out than the others, and that's, you've probably seen him if you've seen any of the trailers, like the Space Wizard guy.
The Voldemort kind of looking guy,
yeah, because he's like the Space Wizard, and he does the wizard stuff, fighting with Doctor Strange, which is cool. Which, okay, and I won't give any details, but that is the one thing, like, when you watch the Doctor Strange movie, it just looks like kind of magic-y kung fu. He does some crazy wizard shit. Like he does awesome. Wizard stuff. Like, he's casting spells, doing magic, so that's cool. But yeah, like, there's the four guys. One has very distinctly more personality than the others, but they're all distinct and different, and that's cool. And then, there's the CGI army, because you have, if you're having 50 dudes fighting, they have to, but, like, there's also the generals. And Thanos himself, who is they actually make him an interesting character, because it's almost more his story than the heroes, in a way. So that's cool.
Well, I guess we'll wrap it up with my review of Deadpool, which we can wrap up real quick, almost in a minute, because, so Deadpool 2 is more of Deadpool. It, going into the movie, he's doing Deadpool stuff, and he's running his mouth the whole time, and it's funny. I was concerned that a lot of the jokes would be in the trailer, and a lot of the jokes are in the trailers. But they actually wrote in a lot of jokes and shot a lot of scenes for the trailer, because when you're watching the movie, you go, wait a sec, that's not right, because I saw this in the trailer. So there's a lot of, like, actual misleading in the trailers. So there's a lot of surprises in the movie. Like,
that's good.
And it's really funny because it's like, I saw it coming, but I didn't see it. Like, it's very predictable humor and predictable plot points that you're like, okay, I saw that coming. But then you have to sit and kind of argue with yourself and go, but no, the trailer had a different scene that played out a different way with different people in it. So I didn't see that coming. Yeah. So there are some, like, shocking, funny moments. There's a lot of, like, it's really deep. Like, really? The first movie was kind of like, I got shot in the butt. That type of humor. And trust me, there's about 10 times more butt humor. That's good. And you almost want to know, you almost want to ask Ryan Reynolds if a 12-year-old wrote the script. Like, it almost gets to the point of you're getting a little tired of the immature humor. Yeah. But it has a lot of heart, and at the core of it has a plot point. Like, and it's not even in the trailers, and I'm not telling you what it is, but, like, the main plot of the movie is, like, gut-wrenching and, like, character felt, and there's actual, like, acting and emotion, and you're kind of like, I was not prepared for some of the character beats, or you were not prepared for some of the sequences, because it was like, that's a very serious subject, or it's a very serious topic that they're going on, or... Yeah. And, you weren't expecting Cable to show emotional range. You weren't expecting to see Deadpool show emotional range, but they do. And so that was actually, like, I was really happy for that, because I'm like, I just, that, like, I wasn't expecting to see that. And to see that was almost like you're watching it going, oh, I don't want this. Yeah. Because you're not prepared, but you're like, no, just keep sticking stuff in your butt, like, type humor. Yeah. Like, you know. But it's good. I really recommend it. I can't really compare the plot, because I felt like the first movie's plot really was, like, very cut and paste.
They were given, like, $20 million, which sounds like a lot, but not a lot for making a movie.
There's a lot of explosions in this movie.
Yeah, they're like, with the first movie, they're like, you have $20 million.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to cut your like time in half partway through, you know, like, so make it, you know, by the books. And they did what they did with what they had for the first Deadpool movie is insane. It
is. There's a lot more. Like, this movie is like 10 times the amount of action. Like, it's definitely a sequel. One thing that surprised me, though, was, and I really liked it because, I'm sorry, Marvel, I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but Phase 3 to me was, let's watch these CGI people fight each other, and sometimes they'll take off their masks, and you'll actually see a costume. And it hurt. Like, Black Panther in Civil War was a dude in a suit. Mm-hmm. Black Panther in Black Panther was a CGI character.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was a CGI character. Thor was a CGI character. It was like, it felt like 50% of the movie wasn't even like actors on a set.
Yeah.
Deadpool is shocking how much of the action is like Ryan Reynolds in red spandex doing fight moves. Like, it's seeing Cable, like a lot of the Cable stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of CGI, but I was kind of surprised at how much like they did on camera.
Yeah.
And how, like, you know, and like squib effects and stuff like that, like on camera, it was like, well, that's pretty cool. Like, I genuinely was not expecting to see that. Or if there's like a big explosion and they're flying away from it, it's an actor on a green screen. So there's still like that presence to the movie. So that was nice. And there are some amazing cameos that I like. Do not look up the cast list.
Oh, really?
Do not look up the soundtrack.
Okay.
Because the soundtrack gives away one of the best. Holy crap! I cannot believe this just happened in this movie. Like, reveals.
Nice.
Do not, like, I'm telling you, like, do not look up the cast. Do not look up the soundtrack. Don't look up anything. Just go into the movie, and you will be very surprised. In fact, Deadpool himself is shocked when some of the things happen. So
that's good.
It's great. Like, there's literally a scene where you're sitting there and the audience went, "Oh my God!" And right as we were done saying it, the whole audience goes, "Oh my God!" And then Deadpool goes, "No! In my movie?" And you're like, "Okay, yep, okay, cool."
Yeah,
like, that's what's happening. So very cool stuff.
That's fantastic.
Get a large popcorn.
Yeah.
Or and get your Coke and get your, whatever other Sour Patch Kids and just go have fun. Like, don't expect anything, but just go have a roller coaster ride. Be warned, though, it is way more violent than the first movie.
Which is saying something. And
outside of a very specific Women's Appreciation Day scene in the first movie, is a lot more... the humor is very sketchy.
Yeah.
Into. So, if you,
aren't into that.
If you aren't into that, like, there are some... Yeah, it's definitely more violent, and there are some sequences that kind of make you go, "Whoa, okay." Like, they made that joke, or it's dirtier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bigger, it's dirtier, it's more brash. So, not that, like, our listeners need to worry about that, but, like, maybe if you had a 13, 14-year-old...
Yeah, Deadpool was alright, but Deadpool...
And Deadpool, you were like, okay, that's pushing it. Deadpool 2, you might want to, like...
Yeah.
And maybe that's just me, but I thought Deadpool 2 definitely... I would... The first one, I would probably wait to let a younger person watch. But Deadpool 2, I would definitely go and probably want to enjoy it on my own before having to have some talks with...
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, kid, yeah.
So I guess we both watched a movie with was it Josh Brolin, yeah. Josh Brolin, yeah.
And he, oh my gosh, like I like Cable. Like, Cable, I actually, like, read his comics. If anyone was not on board with Josh Brolin Cable, like, he is awesome.
That's good.
Like, he commands that character, and he is, like, perfect. I mean, he to me, he's kind of like Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter. Like where you went and you go, well, I can't believe they actually just found Harry Potter in this movie. That's how, like, he's very much Cable.
That's fantastic.
And very good. And him and Ryan Reynolds are an odd couple made in heaven, and I can only hope and pray that there are more of their movies together.
Well, I'm definitely on board. I'll have to stay away from spoilers, but considering that I probably have another 100 hours in Persona, I won't be on the internet, so I don't have to worry about spoilers.
It's very true.
So I guess that probably does it for today. Just a heads up, obviously it was a hectic month, sick, overtime at work, all that nonsense. But we should be back on schedule with our normal uploads, as well as starting to upload the social media videos onto the main channel.
Yes.
And we got another couple full-length videos queued up and ready to start. Hopefully in the next few weeks start filming.
Yeah.
But once we start filming, we're probably going to be able to like film more than one.
Yeah.
Because we've got a few ideas that are in the process of getting fully scripted. So they'll be ready to go. So yeah, all right. Well, we'll see all of you guys later.
See you later.